ladies and gentlemen, in case you've never seen nor heard, is Dude. That's his name. We bring him out 30 seconds each time he flexes his muscle and hangs his tongue out the side of his head and does his thing. That is Dude. We welcome you to the show tonight, and we've got a good one. Hard hitting, relevant, and it will impact you. It should impact you. I'll put it that way. And I thank each and every one of you for tuning in. So whether you're down the street, around the corner, across America, or somewhere around this great big world, thank you. And this is what I want you to do. We're going to be giving away one of Lee's books tonight. And let me get this gizmo started here so I get it right. Okay. All right. I got that all set up. Here's what I want you to do. Come in. Leave your comments, ask questions, but do this for me as soon as I find it. To be eligible for the giveaway, you must put hashtag book. That's hashtag book. That's all you got to put in there. It's hashtag book, and you'll be good to go. Our gizmo, that's what I call it, our spinny thing that works in the end when we do this, as you put in hashtag book, it'll collect your name and put you in the drawing. So enter hashtag book to be eligible. Come on, Espenlaub, get it right. To be eligible for the giveaway, hashtag book. And we'll give some people some time to come in. Excuse me. Don't hide off into the shadows somewhere. Come in, leave your comments, ask questions, and whatever you ask or put in your comments, we'll shoot them right up on the screen, and I can see them, Lee can see them, and other people can see them. So don't be hesitant in coming in. My co-host, Ed Temple, out of Columbus, Ohio, isn't able to be with us tonight, although, knowing Ed, he might come falling in here during the show. And if he does, he'll come in and he'll fall in quietly. I think. It's hard to tell with Ed. But anyhow, I miss him. I miss him tonight. So, Ed, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing, have a good one, buddy. There's Mrs. Espenlaub. Oh, she's always tuned in. So she says hello, all. And we say hello back to her. So, Lee McNulty. My, oh, my. What an incredible story. What courage. And this takes real courage. Here's a comment for you, Lee. You're a great teacher, Mr. McNulty.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Those little nuggets like that, they mean a whole lot to a fellow, don't they?
They do, very much so. And especially if it's coming from another teacher, because I understand how they feel. I'm not saying, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. It was bad where I was, but it was not every student, but a great deal, many of them. And unfortunately, when you have a lot of kids that act up in all sorts of ways, not coming to class, cutting, hanging out in the hallways, not coming to school, not doing the work, not passing it, not doing anything, and passing, that teaches other kids who normally did everything not to do anything. Why should I have? I mean, if I could go to work and not do nothing, get paid for it, it's basically the same damn thing.
That's right. That's right. Let me put this book up here. That's the book that Lee will be giving away tonight. So put in the comment, hashtag book. That's all you got to do to be eligible. Hashtag book. Just put it in the comment, and our gizmo, our machine, will pick that up, and at the end we'll do the spin, and we'll see who walks away with that book. Didn't you say, Ed or Lee, that it's somewhere around 400 pages, a little better than
yeah,
400
just a tad over 400. It took me a long time to write it because I had many years of documentation, and I had to try to get it smaller and smaller. It's probably a third of what it was when I first put it all together. After 27 years, there was a lot to my diary.
But one thing for sure, it's not, how do I want to say this? It's not a wordy word book. It's a thorough, well documented, put down on paper. Uh, it'll take you somewhere,
It's
and
basically a journal,
yeah, and it'll bring you out the other side, and you'll be more knowledgeable than you was when you first went in.
right?
So,
It's dated, it's timed, and year after year, day after day.
well, Lee, I guess the best place where we can start is you taught in Paterson, New Jersey for 27 years.
Yes, sir.
I guess the best place we could start is give us some of your background, where you taught, and how you ended up starting to document things uh, in your journey. I mean, did you start it in the very beginning, in the middle, somewhere where you saw things spiraling out of control? Uh, tell us some things like that.
Perfect. First of all, what's absolutely funny is I'm a high school dropout. I quit school the day I walked out of school. I went immediately into the military. I did my 4 years of active duty, worked, got my GED. I made rank, got out, and I worked my pretty much my most of my adult life before I became a teacher. I was actually 35 when I became a teacher, and I worked in a machine shop. And a friend of mine says, "Why don't you think about becoming a metal shop teacher? There's an opening at the school." Without going through a lot of explanation, I lucked out. I got the job, and believe me, I like the job. I like the job a lot, but it's not about education there. It's just pushing kids through. And I would say actually started documenting things. I started in 1987. I think I started documenting in 87, around 97, 88, around 90 or 91, maybe 92, I forget, when the state of New Jersey took over the District of Paterson. They took up several districts in the state of New Jersey for several reasons. One was they said it was too top heavy in administration. Well, you should see it now. Maybe back then it might have been a little pamphlet, little book that you would get with a couple of pages with all the administrators throughout the district. Today it's like the yellow pages.
Hmm.
Failure, low test grades, high dropout rate. There was about 5 or 6 things which I indicate them all in the book, and it just got worse. Then kids would pull. It started when kids started pulling the fire alarm 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day. Then they would have riots. Then gangs would come in and they would pull the fire alarm so everybody would evacuate the building, and then fights would start. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to start documenting this. And then I started seeing teachers getting poor evaluations. So I said, you know what? I'm going to keep everything documented. My intentions is not to hurt, wasn't to hurt anybody, but it was to protect me.
Yeah.
Especially you have when it comes to report cards, parents will come in and they'll blame you. You failed my son. You failed my daughter. I go, how did I fail them? I says, I just do checks and balances. I give them a grade for what they deserve. How do you pass a kid, especially at the end of the year when they have 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 plus days of absence from your class? When the state requires 20 is the maximum, but yet they pass. So that's what I started doing. I started documenting, and there was a lot of things. In fact, as you're saying this is probably about 1997. One teacher in particular, Spanish teacher. I don't know if she was a Spanish teacher as in speaking Spanish. She was Spanish, but that's what I'm calling it, as a Spanish teacher. Two boys came into her class. She asked them to leave. They wouldn't leave. They gave her a bad time. She tried to get help. She tried to get them outside. Well, then one kid knocked her down. She chipped her tooth, and another kid tried to set her hair on fire. Now, people can argue with me.
Yep. We lost him.
I think we're back.
Okay, go ahead.
And I had the actual documentation of the school write-up on the incident, the whole thing. And I just knew I had to, if not for anything else, to protect myself. And as you and I were talking earlier, as one teacher, I get contacted by a lot of teachers throughout the year, and and I would tell them, document everything, not to hurt anybody, but to protect yourself. And believe me, parents will come after you for everything.
Mm-hmm. What was the result or of that incident with that teacher?
Never knew.
And this
Never knew. The teacher, I know the teacher didn't want to press charges because, from what I understand, one of the kids, the father was in a local gang, so she was afraid of retaliation. Again, it's a while back, but in detail, and I mean extreme detail, and bridging off all the the district documentation filed by police and security as well as administrators. I got copies of them, and they're in there, the actual documents.
Wow. And that was back when?
I think that was around, I'm guessing that was around 1997, I think.
So,
no, you know what? It might be later. I'm sorry. It might be around 2007. I think that's when we had a principal by the name of Miller. I know that's when about that time the principal was Miller.
So how many years were you documenting everything?
Well, let's say if I started in, I'm gonna just pick a number at random. I think I started around 90, 87, 88, 89. I think the state was taken over in either in 89 or 90. So probably around 93 when I started things really, they're just going downhill. So I just started copying everything.
So if you started in 93, that was 29 years ago. It was bad then. It's much worse now.
A friend of mine, I won't mention his name, because usually, like anybody, there's several teachers in that book. They allow me to use their name. Everybody else, I made up a pseudonym. Mm-hmm. But one of my good friends, he retired just about 2 or 3 years ago, and this is verbatim when he says, "Lee, you're very lucky you left when you did. It's a lot worse."
Yeah. Did the school district know that you were documenting these things?
Some had ideas. I kept quiet for quite a while. Then I was trying to figure out a way. I started. I also did a lot more than just document everything. I can back anything and everything I say in that book. I can back up. And several of the administrators were quite furious with me, and I would say, "Well, arrest me." Just that simple. If you arrest me, well, then they figured then I would stop. But then if you arrest me, I got to go to court. Then why are you arresting me? All this stuff's going to come out. So do you really want that?
Right. I was reading somewhere, and I know that you've been on numerous shows, newscasts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I was reading, and I can't remember where. I can't remember what I did yesterday, let alone remember that.
I thought that only happened to me.
No, that's a constant with Espenlaub anymore. But you were there from when to when? You retired in what, 2014?
Yeah, from 87 to 2014.
So you spent 27 years doing that. I read somewhere that the district, and this always cracks me up, the district did an investigation. It always cracks me up when people do investigations on themselves,
Well, I made a comment about that. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
And one of the things they said that was unfounded. And I found, in my workings in a school district, they like to use certain buzzwords. Instead of saying it's not true or they can't find truth, they use the word unfounded. It doesn't mean what I'm saying is not true. So it's a very ambiguous word. But I confronted them. If you go on YouTube and go Ruining a Nation, Ruining a Nation, Nobody Cares, Part 5, I think it is. I confronted them, and I basically said, "How do you?" Well, let me backtrack. Well, I'll go right where I go. How can you investigate yourself? I said that's like Nazi Germany investigating war crimes. And that was the bottom line. But what happened? The reason why the investigation came up, and I'd like to know who put the kibosh on it. I filed a report with the state. I filed a report federally. I spoke with the senator. I didn't speak with her once. I spoke with her twice, had me in the office, and I gave scads of documentation. And the senator said to me, "Why don't you speak to the superintendent?" And I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "You're going to tell me he doesn't know what's going on?" And then I've also spoke with a couple of Congress people, and I thought they were going to do something about it, but that's why I titled the book "Ruining a Nation," and nobody cares. Because I mean, if you're not properly, I just told you a few minutes ago that I'm a high school dropout. I would guarantee my education then is better than the majority of them getting out now.
Oh yes, oh yes. When you spoke to the senator and to several Congress people, uh, they didn't get all excited and riled up and
Well,
angry that something was going on. Why do you
the
think that
senator,
is?
well, that's not exactly true. When the senator called me back, she asked me, and she goes, "I hope you don't get upset with me, but I have to let you know I find this very disturbing. But I have to ask you, is this the truth?" And I told her, I said, "This is the gospel." I said, "And it's not only the gospel." I said, "It's going to be in my book, and my book will be out next year."
And she still didn't.
Nothing. Well, obviously, I even offered to be a spy, and I used it that word, but I said like it. What do you call it? Like a go-between. You just go around, and I says, and I would report back to you. I says, "You don't have to pay me." I said, "But if you have to pay me, you can pay me $1. I don't want any money." I said, "All I want to do is write," and I'm pretty much telling you word for word. And I said, "All I want to do is right a wrong. I'm not interested in money, fame, or any of this stuff."
So you wrote the book in 2016. You retired in 2014. Uh, how much of a hassle did you have, or did you get from the administration there in the district? Uh, once they did this investigation because of whatever, did they continually harass you?
No, they never said a word.
No?
And I thought about it. If anybody has lived a while and watch any political situation, when something's wrong with a political person, what do? They keep quiet.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Like I said, I have in a storage place several thousand actual documents that they threw out, and I took them, and it shows everything that I'm saying. Just like I said to you, anything that's in the book, I can back up.
What were some of the things that you saw while you were teaching? I know you mentioned the Spanish teacher. What's some of the other things that took place there?
One of my students in the last few years, we had a program that I was involved with, a very good program, and the administrator that started it was called STEM, and she was very good. And they had also an introductory program called SIPS, which I was in. And she made sure the kids were the higher end students that came from the feeder schools, the grammar schools, into the high school. And the one kid in particular, I think she was a junior. She had her phone robbed, not stolen, robbed, threatened, stolen, in right in the cafeteria. It's in the book. The following year, at knife point, she had her phone robbed in the ladies' room. She went to report it. She went to report it. The district did nothing. I kept telling, get your parents involved. Get your parents involved. They kept it hushed up, and she ended up keeping it quiet. She didn't say nothing either. Everything is hushed up. It's all about funding. If you start turning in a lot of bad reports, a lot of many suspensions, incidents, fighting, all sorts of violence, it takes away funding. I just said to you a little while ago, in the beginning, there was a small pamphlet of administrators, superintendents, throughout the district. Now it's like the yellow pages. Where's the money going? And in the first thing, they want more and more and more money. And for what? Kids can't even do the basic. And, in fact, speaking of basic, they have to even, the guidance counselors, when they would have state testing, and I'll get into state testing in a few minutes, they have to fill out all, like the name, all the important things. Kids don't have to do anything because they're afraid they can't do it. And getting back to state testing, I think it was the last year I was there, the seniors did very poorly on it. So somewhere along the line, they got permission to retake the test. They did poorly on it. They took another test. They did poorly on that. Then they asked, can we administer the military ASVAB test? They did poorly on that. And I said to this one person, she kind of like run the show, and I says, think about it. How many are 18, 19, 20, and 21-year-old that don't even have their driver's license? Do you know why? They can't pass the driver's test, the written part.
Wow. There's a question for you. Opinion on the teachers union.
That's a very touchy subject because everything that I said, I have said to them, and I gave them all my documentation, including the NJEA. And it's in there. I can't even tell you I used to write letters to the governor almost weekly. And there was probably three different governors during that time. And they did nothing. I wrote letters to the NJEA. In fact, I had them come in one time and they did nothing. It's a waste. I can flip flop with that. A lot of times there was a situation and they did do some good, but for the most part, again, to allow what went on in that school, and I brought it to their attention, and especially the last year I was there, they did absolutely nothing. And I have every email and letter that I sent to them, including their correspondence back to me, and you would be surprised their comments, especially from the NEA in Washington. He turned around and said to me, "What can I do about it?" And I said, "Then why do we need you?"
Ruining a nation, and nobody cares. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're on the fringes, if you're outside looking in, come on in. And Lee will be giving one of those away tonight. But to be eligible, you have to put in the little comment block down there on the bottom, #book. That's all you have to do to be eligible. And when we get close to winding down the program tonight, we'll spin our gizmo and a winner will come out. So if you're on the fringes, in the shadows, don't be afraid to come on in and put #book. The more the merrier. I like to watch that thing go round and round and round with people's faces and so on and so forth. But that's just me. You know what I'm saying? But anyhow, Lee, did you have police officers in your school?
Yeah, I said that back in I think it was '96. We were the first school to have police officers. We had regular security. There was I don't know exactly. I'll say maybe a dozen. And then after we had 6 uniform armed police officers in our building every day, and that's where I just said to you before. Lieutenant Mike Recker was one of them, and he wasn't the only police officer that got banned from the building for doing their job. Another police officer, he asked me to keep his name because he's still on the job, but I got permission. He wrote it all up, and I took what he wrote up, put in the book. Kid who kept harassing a young female in the cafeteria, and he kept trying to make it stop. Eventually, somehow or another, he ended up throwing her on the floor, and he says, as noisy as the cafeteria is, all you heard was that clunk of the head hitting the floor. He said it was horrible. He grabbed him, pulled him out of the cafeteria, took the security, called a police car, brought him down to the police station. But in between, the principal was trying to stop it. He goes, no, I got it. And the officer says, no, it's out of your hands now. So the police officer didn't even get done writing the report up. The kid was back in school, only to find out that the girl that he threw on the ground, there was a restraining order, which the principal knew, between that girl and that kid, because it wasn't the first time there was a situation between them. And again, something that could have been avoided. But then he was banned, never to come back to work in the building again. So what is the point of having a police officer? And I can't even tell you how many times the things I've heard and seen what kids have said to police officers, and they get away with it. They spit at them. It's absolutely disgusting.
I was thinking about this afternoon, Lee, after we talked on the phone a little bit. The craziness. I don't know the word for it. I don't know if anyone knows the word, but craziness, for lack of a better term, that this country is going through. And I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think one of the most dangerous statements that anyone in America can say is, well, it don't affect me, so I'm not worried about it.
But it does.
I think that's one of the most dangerous statements that any one person can make. Well, my kids are all grown up and out of school, so whatever goes on there, so be it. It don't affect me. People even that have children in schools, whether it's elementary school, middle school, high school, well, my kid's getting along just all right. It don't affect me. That's a dangerous statement. Do you believe that or not?
Oh, absolutely. I say all the time, I said, some of these parents should get together. And I would truly believe, especially if their children are not, didn't advance in any type of education or having difficulty getting gainful employment because of their lack of education, there should be a class action lawsuit because they didn't get it at school. They were pushed through the system. And people say, well, it doesn't affect you. Well, it does. First of all, it affects you right out of your pocketbook. What does it cost? It costs about 20 grand to send a kid to school. For what? To not go to school, not to do the work, but still get a diploma. For that matter, I've said this. It's actually a wise remark, a kind of dumb remark, but why send the kids to school? Shut the schools down. When the kid's 18, 19 years old, let the kid pay $500. Just give him a diploma. It would save the taxpayers a lot of money. It comes out to the same thing. But I want to also make it sure it's not every kid. Some kids, a lot of the kids do well and work hard. A lot of them do. Actually, more, but I would say maybe a third of the kids are the ones that act up. And again, brings on the bad atmosphere, and then a lot of the good kids now become what I call bad kids, disruptive kids.
Did I read several weeks ago? I'm sure you have. That a group of parents in Baltimore are suing the school district or the state for the reason that you had just stated, that they're not learning. And I haven't followed along with it. I'll have to do some more research. But how do you feel about the parents in different locales now standing up and going against these school boards for some of this craziness?
It's about time. It's about time. Just like you said, people say, well, it doesn't affect me. Parents got to get involved because it is their children. And it's not only their children's future, it's the country's future as well as the world's future. They have to get something. These people, your administration today are no different than our politicians. They don't care.
Right.
And the next person who takes their place is the next person's buddy. It's disgusting. And I'll give you an example of how disgusting I feel it is. The superintendent right now in Paterson, as of when I looked, I think last year, Governor Cuomo was the highest paid governor in the country. So I imagine the young lady with Shaq, whatever her name is, it's got the same salary. However, I did more research. Do you know the superintendent in Paterson High School makes more money than the governor? Why? If somebody's in charge of an entire state, why should somebody in like the third largest city in the state of New Jersey get more than any governor?
Yeah.
And then again, that's what I said. So it does affect them. Where's the tax money going?
Exactly.
And if you're paying $21,000 per year per student, supposedly to get an education, but in 20 years, I'm just making an arbitrary number. If you had 100 administrators that work in the main office, and now there's 300, 400, well, where the hell do you think the money's going?
Right.
I mean, they're all making well over $100,000. 10 people's $1 million right there.
That's right. You taught a shop class. Do they still teach that? Do they still have?
No, they never. They didn't do anything with it. In fact, it's funny. You and I were talking earlier about COVID and what have you. A friend of mine teaches one of the wood shops. He says during COVID, it was really ridiculous because the kids, many of them never even showed up, online or what have you. He says, but then going back, they're not allowed. He is not allowed to let the kids use any of the machines. What's the point? What's the point?
And the reasoning for that? Safety? Liability?
I don't know the reason. I'm just being a parrot. I'm just repeating what he said to me. So he shows movies or, they'll talk about something. But again, many of the students, and I was one of them, book is kind of boring. But if you do hands-on, you can relate to it. And then, maybe do a little reading of step-by-step what to do, procedural, which is what everybody needs to do in their life. But it's just dumb. In fact, when the very first video, when I was interviewed by Bob Bowden of School Choices, and they came out, I think the day they were supposed to leave for Thanksgiving vacation, the first thing they did, because I wasn't there, I already retired, they tried to doctor up that room. That same shop teacher I was just talking about how to put in petition real fast, put in all these computers saying it was a working computer room, but none of the computers absolutely worked. They were all broken. It was all a facade.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, any of these administrators want to. I say in the book, sue me. I really would like to go to court. Sue me, then we'll bring it out.
What's some of the shows that you've been on?
To be truthful, I don't remember them all, but there were several other podcasts throughout the country.
Hmm. I watched several of them, and I'm like you. I just watched them this afternoon, Lee. So,
Yeah.
and I can't remember. I remember that fellow's name you just mentioned, but the other ones,
Oh, Bob Bowden. Yeah.
yeah.
I actually contacted that gentleman. He is one of the most educated people I've ever known in my life about knowing about almost every aspect of education. And a nice guy, down to earth guy, but I mean, extremely knowledgeable about education. Um, I don't think anybody could pull the wool over in any fashion with him. I'm talking even any superintendent. Guy is extremely knowledgeable.
The bureaucrats, uh, and I like what you said. A lot of these administrators are political, and they're going to protect their turf, like the big dog on the porch going to protect the front door. Uh, but some of these parents across the country are really, really doing a splendid job coming up against some of these school board members. Some of the things that they slip in is so subtle.
That's exactly what they do. Slip in.
Mm-hmm.
They
Explain.
will get even. I can't even imagine. Almost every year they had some sort of new program we're going to do. Now I don't know if they were given grants to do this or if there was kickback. I don't know, but every year something new. We'd all get these new fancy books, go to these meetings. It has special meetings where the school would be half a day or no day. It's just expensive. And then next year, all gone,
Mm.
all gone.
And then they come up with something new
Something new.
and do it all over again.
Bottom line is, all you need is the basics, and the kids would be, they'd be better off. Just like, naturally, you're always going to have kids that really excel. What do you have, like AP classes and whatnot? But not everybody, and there's nothing wrong with it. But not everybody is for college.
Right.
Maybe later. I'm a prime example of that. Didn't go to college till I was 35 years old.
Right.
So, late bloomer. But for the time being, you got to give them. My philosophy is, I don't really worry. I wouldn't worry about so much about going to college. College doesn't guarantee you you're going to be successful.
Mm.
It's going to make you wealthy or have a good life. That depends on the individual.
Exactly. Exactly. There are there are kids that's in college that can't read a tape measure, uh, and it's just so sad. During your time there in Paterson, and probably more so after you became a nemesis, uh, how are you how are you treated in the community as of now? I mean, after all this stuff, I mean, I'm sure some people see you coming and they'll cross the street so they don't have to say nothing to you.
No, not. First of all, I don't. I really don't have any needs to go to Paterson. I would have to say I'm very fortunate, even though I'm saying a lot of negative things. Uh, obviously I have a Facebook page, which was strictly for the book and what have you. But many of the followers are ex-students of mine. They'll call me up, send me email. They're all, naturally, many of them are graduated, moved on, got married. They'll send me pictures of their children. One in particular, and I'm going to use her name. She speaks so highly of me, and I not only had her, I had all her brothers. Desi Garcia. Uh, she somebody said something one time, and boy, oh boy, she let them have it. She was very. I'm very fortunate. Did I have bad kids? Sure, but I had a lot of good kids, and I wished them well. But a lot of them also have bad lives, and just like me, I'm not saying my parents were right, but that's the way I grew up. So I do what my parents did, just like these kids do. You don't know any better, especially when you're a kid. You
Right.
do what, you follow.
Right. That environment that you were in all those years and the many students that came in and out through the doors over the years, how that bad environment, the bad actors. Now, you mentioned earlier that they had an effect on some of the good kids,
Yeah.
and that's sad. Did you ever see any cases where some of the good kids had a positive effect on maybe one or some of the bad kids?
No, no,
No.
no.
But the other way around, some good kid was so influenced or intimidated or whatever.
Well, like I said, for the most part, if they see kids not going to class, they're hanging out, they're cutting, the cut slips are going into the office and they have 30, 40, 50, 60 days and they're passing. Why do I got to go to class? They'll do the same for me. And they will. And they did.
What was uh, what? Why didn't? Why did somebody say something to these administrators? And I'm sure you've already answered the question, but you miss all this school, you skip all these classes, but yet you still get pushed through the door. Uh, where was people? I mean, people. Good
Right.
people. Yeah.
Well, earlier in this interview, the young lady said something about she made a compliment or I'm brave or something like that. I'm not sure if that's what it was, but you know what? I wasn't really brave because I waited till I got out to say something because I know if I opened my mouth, I'd be gone.
Hmm.
So I don't know how brave that really is, but I did tell all my students for years, and they'd be in my class and see what goes on and what have you. And I go, you wait, when I get out, I'm going to write a book. And you'll see on a lot of the videos and whatnot, where people will write comments and whatnot. Thank you for Mr. Mac. You kept your promise. You said you were going to do that. And you know what? I forgot to bring this up before, or I got sidetracked in our conversation. Not just me, but if you go to YouTube and look up all these different things about teachers, and you'll see it's throughout the country. It's not Paterson. It's the whole country.
Yeah.
And even if you did go to the one main video, and you'll see people from England, all over the world, same thing, complaining what goes on. Teachers working only a few years and they can't take it anymore. They've had it.
Yeah. A week ago tonight, we had Dr. Teresa Sanders on, and she's from Texas, and she taught in the public schools. Now she's doing homeschooling. But she made the statement that there in the Dallas area, Dallas Fort Worth, there's a battle between districts trying to get people to come work for them. And they've jacked up the starting money and this
Salary.
and that things. And some people that she's talked to that have been in the profession, they said, I don't care how high they make the salary. I've had it. I'm wore out. I'm done. It's not worth it.
Just like I just said to you, if you look on YouTube, you'll see why I quit. There's thousands of videos all about teachers quitting, how bad it is. And again, it's throughout the country. And again, you think your politicians don't know this?
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones who actually, kind of like started this with the testing and all that stuff. That was another thing. kids' schedules were, their classes were made so they would be practicing the entire time till it came time to take the test.
Yes.
So they were educating to the test, not educating.
And now they become indoctrination centers where
Yeah.
you are told what to think, told how to act. It's okay if you're this way, that way, and somewhere in between, and all the other things. And I mentioned to you off the air, America was founded on rugged individualism, where people could think. They could think through a problem. I don't think there's a lot of people that can think through a problem, even a small problem, anymore, because someone has always told them what to do, when to do it, where to do it, and your words were people have become
Sheep.
sheep.
Absolutely. They become sheep. I gave you a simple analogy at church. People my own age or a few years younger have to be told it's time to go to communion. Oh, already? I mean, if you go every week, which I saw them every week, how do you not know?
Right.
I mean, you got to be told when you go to, probably the same thing at work then. You got to be told, all right, you're done with this. Now do this. Now do this. I don't get it.
I think we determined that the last time you were on the show was just, I mean, notched right up just before the COVID thingy.
Yeah.
Well, when everybody was shut down, locked up, and school shut down, and they were supposed to do this remote stuff, how did you feel when all that happened?
I laughed. If kids weren't going to go to school when there was school, what would make them go to school when they got to be home? It just made no sense to me. Again, it's not all kids, but when you have kids hanging out in the school building and the administration allows it not to go to class, well, who's going to make them, especially if their parents or if their single parents work, are not home.
Right.
And like I said, the one shop teacher, he goes, many kids never signed on, but he's told to pass them.
And so the schools, for the most part, in many parts of the country, was shut down a year and a half, almost 2 years. Lee, I don't think we need to be a rocket scientist to figure out the effects that had on young people.
Yeah. Well, think about it. If it was a normal year, how many kids, if any, ever get held back? Now, how many got held back during COVID? I bet you none.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what's the point? Like I said, what's the point of the public education? It's just really, I can see, again, I don't think you get a better education other than the parochial schools.
Yeah. You're all for school choice?
Absolutely. Especially, you may have a good high school, but if it starts slipping, hey, it's time to pull my children out of there. I think parents should have the right to send their children where they think is best. The money go there.
Exactly. Let me pull this thing down here. And I'll get this thing all ready. All right, we're going to give you a few seconds. If you're just coming in or if you're hiding in the shadows, if you want to be eligible to receive a copy of Lee's book, Ruining a Nation and Nobody Cares, then just type in the comment block, #book, #book. And we're going to give this gizmo a spin here in just a moment. So hurry up and put it in there. Let me make this thing big up here so everybody can see it. All right. We're going to spin this and you're going to see it. And I think I got the gizmo just about right. Here it goes. Okay. I'm not even going to be able to say that name. Can you say that name, Lee?
I'm going to make a guess because that's what I had to do a lot of times at the beginning here. Greg Yatusabi.
Okay. So congratulations to Greg.
Yatusabi. If I said it incorrectly, I apologize, but I gave it a shot.
Yeah, you were braver than I was. I wasn't even going to attempt. I can't even say my own name, much less that one. Uh, but congratulations, Greg. So glad. So glad that we had a winner tonight. I'm going to pull this down and I'm going to put this up because not that one, that one. Greg,
Correct.
make sure you write that down. That's Lee. That's with three E's. Leee. McNulty. McNulty@gmail.com. So please write that down. Email Lee with your name and your mailing address, and he'll get that book out to you. Congratulations. That I like that gizmo when I make it work right. Sometimes I blow it up and I don't get it right, but that's Espenlaub. So
When you had that gizmo going, I was trying to follow the names, and I caught many of them were my ex students.
really,
Yeah,
that's a real tribute to you,
yeah.
man. Yes. Wow. It has.
I hope they're all doing well.
Yes, indeed. And it shows that they think of you, because if not, they wouldn't be here. Uh, Here's a comment. Darlene said, "Great job, Lee,
Darlene's a very good friend of mine.
and thank you for tuning in, Darlene. Here, do us a favor. Even now that we're on, we're going to be on for just a couple more minutes, but share this thing out, and follow us on the George Espenlaub Show page. So share us out, share us out, share us out, share us out. When you share us out, you're putting the video on your line, on your feed. You're putting it places that we can't reach. Now, we'll take the audio portion of this tonight and we'll put it up on the radio. So, you changed my thoughts on life, and I thank you.
There's Jimmy.
God
bless you, Jimmy.
That's got to make you feel warm and
It does. Yeah.
Yes,
he was a good kid. Very good kid.
I like that. Makes me feel warm and fuzzy. So I can imagine how it makes you feel. Do this for me. We're going to put the audio up on our radio show, and go there and you can listen to many other shows that we have on there, not just our live streaming show, but you can go there and you can listen to us on Amazon Music, Spotify, iTunes, and blah 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 blah, everywhere else. But we'll put the audio portion of this up and we'll run it on the radio. And so do that. Lee, I thank you so very, very much for taking time out of your schedule.
I thank you for inviting me. Enjoyed. I always enjoy being with you.
Oh my, we could.
We can go on for a little bit longer. I know we could.
Yeah, we could do 2 or 3 shows about some of the things that have taken place, some of the calamities that we're facing, and so on and so forth. But push this out. There's my buddy Ed. Lee, God bless you.
God bless you, Ed.
And I miss you, buddy. I miss you, Ed. We could do several shows, bunches of shows, and I want you to come back again.
I'd like that.
And you become a real friend. I appreciate your courage. I appreciate the fact that you stand up and you stand up for what you believe, and you're a firm believer that the truth will set us free. It might hurt. It, it, it might make us angry, but the truth will still set us free. And we need more men and women that will speak the truth in this day and age in which we live. Last words.
Teachers, document everything, not for anything else, but for your own protection.
And there you have it from a man that knows. Now, don't forget, get this book. Only one person won it tonight. And as soon as I find it, I'll put it up there. Yeah, it's like I've never done this, and we've been doing this for years. Ruining a Nation, and nobody cares. Amazon.
On this book, these are all some, and I have them all, some of the articles, negative articles about the district and what went on. In fact, the one in the middle, kids left school, went out and killed a man.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Well, get this book. Just go to Amazon.com and type in Ruining a Nation and Nobody Cares or Lee McNulty. And it'll pop right up. And you'll be doing yourself a favor. Well, it's time to get out of here. I hate when we run out of time, but nonetheless.
Yeah. It went fast.
Yeah, it sure did. Time goes by when you're having fun. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen, thank you for lending us both of your ears. Push this thing out. Share it, share it, share it, share it. And there'll be others that'll come in and watch it later. We're streaming into YouTube, Twitter, and of course to our Facebook page. So push this out for us. Whether you're down the street, around the corner, across America, or somewhere around this great big world, here's what I want you to do. Be kind one to another. And don't ever be afraid to look somebody in the eye and say, I love you. You know what? Just those few words, I mean, sincere, heartfelt words coming from you to them could possibly save a life. So until next time, from me and Ed, my co-host that's not here tonight, and from Lee, thank you for taking the time, and God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you for having me again.
See you next time, everybody.